Right now, voters are deciding who they want to move on to the general election in November. The polls close just 2 hours from now, and we are going to watch those results as they pour in tonight. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Kelly Jackson.
And I'm Mike Bush. Voters deciding on the issues in their communities and the candidates during today's Missouri primary race. One of the most watched Senate races in the country is this one. Roy Blunt has been a U.S. Senator from Missouri since 2010, but he's retiring and his seat is up for grabs. 3 of the top Republican contenders in this race are Attorney General Eric Schmitt, former Governor Eric Greitens, and State Representative Vicky Hartzler. On the Democratic side, it's been a battle between Lucas Kunce and Trudy Busch Valentine. We have team coverage on the Missouri Senate primary race tonight.
But first, let's start with Sarah Mackey. She is at Westport Plaza, where Eric Schmitt will hold his watch party tonight. Good evening, Sarah.
Good evening, Kelly. Mike, if you can take a look behind me, you will see that the stage is set, though the crowds and the candidate, they won't be here for at least another hour or so. Now, we did not hear anything this morning about how Eric Schmitt was going to be casting his ballot, or even if he did it earlier, but he did make a stop in our area late last night. So I want you to take a quick look at some of the video from that event. This is last night in Fenton. Now, Schmitt highlighted his pandemic-era lawsuits against local school districts, also the country of China. Now, the courts did throw out that lawsuit against China, claiming that he had no jurisdiction over another nation. But in the last hours, before people woke up to cast their votes, Schmitt took aim at his primary opponent today, warning voters not to pick Eric Greitens because he could lose in November and cost Republicans a chance to retake control of the Senate.
Eric Greitens, who's abused his wife, he's abused his kid, he's a predator, he quit on this state. He quit on you before, he'll quit on you again because it doesn't get any easier in Washington.
Now, one of the biggest talking points over the last 24 hours has revolved around somebody who's not even in this race. Of course, we're talking about former President Donald Trump and his endorsement, who he might be casting his power behind. For more on that, we're going to toss things over to my coworker because we have some more from the Greitens campaign. Holden Kurwicki there tonight.
Well, Sarah, it was just 24 hours ago that former President Donald Trump endorsed Eric without specifying which Eric he was supporting in this race. But today, Eric Greitens clarified that he actually spoke with the former president by the phone and thanked him for his support in this race. Today, Greitens hit the polls where he cast his vote in the Republican primary before meeting up with a group of supporters outside of the Innsbrook polling place. Though he didn't address any of the allegations that have surfaced against him over the past several years, Greitens made it clear that he was the MAGA candidate while taking a jab at Schmitt and his campaign.
President Trump came out and slammed Eric Schmitt's campaign for great dishonesty in politics. And what we're going to see today is that because of these fantastic patriots and others all over the state, what we're going to see is that in the end, love wins. In the end, love beats lies.
And we will be following the Greitens campaign on air and online throughout the night as the results come in. But for a look at another challenger on the GOP ticket, let's go back into the studio where Kelly has more.
All right, Holden. Representative Vicky Hartzler is also running for the Senate seat. She cast her vote early this morning at Harrisonville, just south of Kansas City.
On the Democratic side, Lucas Kunce and Trudy Busch Valentine are the front runners.
Tonight we have Pepper Baker and Justina Cornell covering that race. Let's start with Pepper. She's in Kansas City, where Lucas Kunce is having his watch party tonight. Pepper?
Kelly, Mike, yes, the doors open at 6:30 p.m. tonight for Lucas Kunce's watch party here at Tom's Town in downtown Kansas City. Now, he held his final rally in Independence, Missouri last night, where he delivered a passionate speech trying to appeal to the everyday Missourian. Now, that's been his edge his entire campaign. That's what he thinks he has over his fellow Senate candidates. He grew up in Jefferson City. During his 13 years as a Marine officer in Afghanistan and Iraq, he represented the U.S. in arms control negotiations in Europe. On the campaign trail, he's been vocal about being pro-choice, breaking up corporate monopoly power, and achieving universal health care. Kunce was endorsed just this week by Bernie Sanders, which he proudly stated during yesterday's rally.
Bernie Sanders decided to. And he said, there's only one candidate can stand for everyday people. There's only one one that's going to fight against big ag, against big pharmaceutical cartels, and take care of everyday folks, right? And that's me!
Now, Kuntz's turnouts at his rallies have been pretty decent. He had over 100 people show up to the one that he held in St. Joe just a few days ago. And we're going to keep an eye on the crowds, how they turn out tonight. But just for now, we're going to toss it over to Justina Coronel, who's back in St. Louis covering the watch party for the other front runner of this primary, Trudy Busch Valentine.
Yeah, Pepper, so it's quiet right now at the Union Hall for the Sheet Metal Workers Local 36, but that will all change when those doors open at 7 o'clock, and that's when the polls close as well. Now, earlier today, we actually caught up with Trudy Busch Valentine while she was voting at Ladue City Hall. Now, she's the multimillionaire heiress to a portion of the Anheuser-Busch dynasty, but the nurse says she's trying to build her own legacy, trying to flip a red Senate seat blue. Now, Valentine has made it a point she's the only woman in the Democratic primary race and adds she would be uniquely positioned to debate abortion rights. Now, St. Louis Mayor Tishaura Jones also came out and endorsed Valentine recently. Now, this morning we spoke to Valentine, who says she believes in putting people first.
I totally believe in equality, in justice for all. I believe we are a much better country if we are a united country, if we are inclusive and we are diverse.
In that interview, she also says she's met a ton of people. She's learned a lot, but the biggest goal that she has is putting Missourians first. Now let's send it back to studio for more of our election coverage.
So now to some of the other races we're following tonight. The first congressional district seat is up for grabs. This area covers Olivet, Hazelwood, Jennings, St. Louis. Looking to keep her seat, Congresswoman Cori Bush. She cast her vote this morning. Her opponent, Steve Roberts, also cast his vote. There are several other challengers in this race, including Republicans like Andrew Jones Jr., but this district is a Democratic stronghold. The Democratic candidates for St. Louis County Executive cast their votes this morning as well. Dr. Sam Page is trying to keep his seat as the county executive. Challenging him is attorney Jane Duker. There are also two Republican candidates, including former state rep Shamed Dogan.
And you have about 2 more hours to vote. Polls close tonight at 7. To find one near you, just text the word polls to 314-425-5355. And join us on 5+ as soon as the polls close. We'll have extensive coverage. Just watch for free on your Roku or Fire TV, and there will be expanded results tonight at 5 on 5 on your side at 10.
Up next, our political editor Mark Maxwell breaks down 2 of the biggest races in Missouri and looks at the question of who really won former President Trump's endorsement.
Plus the reasons flooding got so bad in East St. Louis last week and what the city is doing to fix the problem moving forward.
And more flooding around Clay County today, up to 8 inches plus around southern Clay County. New storms popping up around southern Gasconade County and western Franklin County. More on our forecast coming up.
Tonight, families forced out of their East St. Louis homes are still in need of help a week after torrential rains caused historic flooding.
City leaders held a news conference this morning to discuss restoration efforts and ways to help those victims. 5 on your side's Travis Cummings is live outside City Hall with details from that meeting. Travis.
Mike Kelly, officials from East St. Louis, St. Clair County, and from across the region, along with some folks who had to be rescued right here to City Hall last week, showed up to today's meeting, and everyone was on one accord, very clear about one thing, and that is that this flood was a real eye-opener for the city of East St. Louis. Now, that 10 to 12 inches of rainfall devastated Terrace Drive near Interstate 255 and the busy State Street. More than 50 families had to be rescued and were displaced. Their homes, businesses, and cars were destroyed. Mayor Robert Eastern addressed ongoing flooding throughout the city. He points to the Harding Ditch near the intersection of Interstate 255 and State that intakes rainwater from developed areas above the Mississippi River bluffs. Also, the city's broken pumps and a much-needed civil engineering study to relieve pressure off the city's sewer system.
You know, we were trying to make sure that we do things and we have a plan going forward. We have an emergency, but we got to have a plan to make sure we fix it. And I want to make sure we get it from beginning to end. We can no longer just put Band-Aids on broken arms. We got to fix the problem.
Again, if you haven't already, you want to call 211 United Way to report any damage that you might have had last week so that IEMA can assess the situation and hopefully soon open up some disaster funding to you. There will also be a multi-agency response center opening up this weekend. That's going to be at the East St. Louis Senior High School. There'll be Saturday 9 to 7 and then on Sunday from noon to 5. And you can bring your ID if you have it. We're live in the Metro East. Travis Cummings, 5 on your side.
All right, thank you, Travis. After the break, our political editor weighs in on the Missouri Senate race and which GOP candidate the Democrats want to win.
And Kelly, more excessive rainfall. It was really the past 12 hours Clay County hit so hard. Flood warning continues there for creeks and streams until about 6 p.m. More on our forecast, more thunderstorm chances coming up.
And we continue our Missouri primary coverage tonight on some of the big races we're watching.
Our political editor, Mark Maxwell, joins us now with more on what to watch as those polls come to a close in just under 2 hours. Going to be interesting night.
Mike and Kelly, get the popcorn. It certainly is going to be interesting. Missouri is watching. America is watching as Republicans pick which Eric or maybe which Vicky they want to run to replace Roy Blunt. Former President Trump yesterday dipping his toe into the primary waters, but didn't dive all the way in for either Eric Greitens or Eric Schmidt. With the former governor trailing in the polls and taking an onslaught of negative ads highlighting allegations of abuse, Greitens' last best hope was to launch his political comeback with an all-out endorsement from Trump. Instead, Eric Schmidt can now lay equal claim to that same Trump endorsement. The Schmidt campaign was rather relieved last night when they learned they would not be facing any Trump headwinds, not directly. The Vicky Hartzler team hopes that perhaps the stunt from Trump might blunt Schmidt's momentum, boosting Greitens just enough, maybe leaving her that third lane opening to eke past them both. Democrats are hoping that Greitens wins. They see him as the easiest nominee to beat come November.
Okay, and speaking of November, so we won't know the outcome of the Senate race until November. What about we will know probably who they will send to Congress.
Most likely, in the St. Louis area, that first congressional district, Republicans drew those map lines to pack a ton of Democrats into that first district. That's where Cori Bush faces her first re-election test tonight. She's facing the revenge of Lacy Clay, if you will, the moderate Democrat backing State Senator Steve Roberts. And just like the Senate GOP primary could test the strength of a Trump endorsement, President Biden's popularity also faces a bit of a test in this district. Cori Bush representing more of the progressive left of the Democratic Party, Steve Roberts campaigning in the moderate middle. When Bush said she did not want to answer a question about Biden running for re-election, Roberts pounced. He said he'd gladly back a second Biden bid and questioned Bush's votes against the president's agenda. There are other powerful dynamics at play in this race. Roberts also faces some explosive allegations of sexual assault. He's denied them. There are settlements with his accusers, but that's part of what we're watching for in the first district.
And what do you expect in this Democratic race in terms of Kuntz versus Valentine?
That's going to be close even today, and we'll get into this on our live coverage later tonight. There were maybe some shady tactics on the campaign trail with direct text messages going out. Some raw nerves in that race. Could be tight.
All right.
Going to be an interesting night.
Well, let's check in with Jim now for a look at our weather. Jim?
Yeah, the elections the primaries very exciting, and the weather, unfortunately, way active again, guys. So not in St. Louis, which is good. We need a break, but I'll show you where it's been active in just a second. 89 and 81 for that high and low. The outflow boundaries from the storms in Illinois cooled us down a little bit today. We're going to go back up to about 98 like we did yesterday because we're not expecting as many outflow boundaries from those storms that cooled us off. That rain cooled air, but 49 degrees. 49% on that relative humidity, and that dew point is about 67. So at least it's below 70, so it feels a little bit better out there. Allergy index, trees are showing up, grasses and weeds, and of course mold with all that wet land out there. It's dry. It's very high, I should say. So what we have here is that rain-cooled air, and look how chilly it is just to the east of us. Boy, they just had rain after rain, Clay County all the way into Effingham. So we still have flood warnings in effect here. A lot of areas that look like lakes because of that rainfall. So still some showers out there. We'll widen out the shot, but that really heavy rain has ended. Now that rain from Herman southward right through Gasconade County, western Franklin County has been quite heavy. Nothing severe, but downpours and frequent lightning. So still watching places around, again, Highway 28 and 19 and all the way to Gerald, a little bit of activity popping up. But looking at Clay County again, around Flora and Clay City. So this is where we've seen upwards to almost 9 inches of rain. Widen out the shot, you see that darker spot right there east of Effingham County. We've had reports of 12 to 15 inches of rainfall. So no rain, more rain is needed there. We have humidity that's staying with us, a front coming our way. And so shower and thunderstorm activity on the Futurecast looks like it's going to pop up again tomorrow in the afternoon. We'll watch it right through the metro again. And then overnight tomorrow night, showers and storms in here. Pretty widespread, so downpours, maybe an isolated severe cell, high wind, the biggest threat, maybe hail, and we'll watch that tomorrow also late in the day for that activity to start popping up. So 98 for Wednesday, 89 for Thursday, and so we cool off after the front comes close to us, and then 91 for Friday. Over the weekend looks pretty dry, guys, but we start to heat back up a little bit as we head towards Sunday and Monday.
All right, Jim, thanks very much. Well, the Cardinals, they came up to the trading deadline. What did they do? And a Hall of Famer returning to the lineup, Frank Cusimano, is next. A reminder to watch Missouri primary election coverage starting at 7 p.m. on 5+. Watch for free on your Roku or Fire TV. Then expanded results right here tonight at 10.
The Cardinals waited until the final seconds of the trade deadline to make a deal today. Harrison Bader has been sent to the Yankees for pitcher Jordan Montgomery. Montgomery is a 29-year-old lefty who's been quite durable this season. He started 21 games, throwing 114 innings. He has a 3.69 earned run average and a 3-3 record. Last night, the Cardinals brought in a solid pitcher. This is Jose Quintana jogging onto the field for the first time as a Redbird. He came here in a 4-player trade with the Pirates. He's not the savior, but he's not a slouch. This is his best season since his All-Star year of 2016, 103 innings, 3.5 earned run average. Paul Goldschmidt has dominated Quintana in his career to the tune of a .674 batting average. Now the two are happy to be teammates.
You got me. Yeah, I think that's a little trouble. So a little trouble when hitting. I think was the best hitter I faced. I'm really excited to be his teammate and all the other guys with experience. They know how to play the game the right way. So it's really special.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the stats. I'm sure he's got me out plenty too.
By the way.
Yeah, thanks. We're happy to have him, and Stratton as well. And those guys are great pitchers. It's always, a tough challenge when they're on the mound. We've been facing them in Pittsburgh, and Quintana was in Chicago, and so they're tough. And we're happy to have them, and we got a lot of games to go. We're going to try to play well and try to make a run and trying to win the division and get in the playoffs and win the whole thing.
Goldie will be with us on Sunday night for Sports Plus, returning to the lineup for the first time since June 16th, the future Hall of Famer Yadier Molina. He will be battery mates this evening with Adam Wainwright for the 317th time, which moves them into second place all time. Yadier has been in Puerto Rico rehabbing and watching the professional basketball team he owns. We asked Yadi if he's an active owner and just what he thinks about the referees.
How would you describe yourself as a basketball owner? Are you an active owner?
Yeah, basketball is going good. I mean, we're going to the final. We started the series next month, so we'll see what happens.
Do you give critiques to the coaches and players, or you stay out of it?
I stay out of it. I try to stay out of it. Oh, the referees, they're good over there. Yeah. Really good.
Yadi, by the way, was famously kicked out of a basketball game when he got upset with the referees a couple of weeks ago. So the biggest story in baseball is the Nationals trade with the Padres. San Diego got Juan Soto and Josh Bell. The Nationals got 4 prospects and the St. Louisan Luke Voit. Imagine how you should feel if you're Luke Voit. You wake up this morning in San Diego, a team that's going to the postseason, and you go to bed tonight a member of the Washington Nationals, the worst team in all of baseball.
And the Padres also got Josh Hader from the Brewers and Brandon Drury from the Reds.
Yes, and a team the Cardinals are battling for that final wild card spot. The Phillies were active all day. So the Cardinals did okay, but a lot of teams they're competing with did a lot better.
All right, Frank, thanks very much. One final check of the weather with Jim.
Okay, so still watching the radar tonight, guys. Gasconade County, Western Franklin County, a couple storms popping up, heavy downpours, some frequent lightning. And then tomorrow, that heat advisory goes until 8 p.m. It's hot, 98, feels more like 105 to 110. And a good chance of storms tomorrow evening, widespread as we head into tomorrow night.
And there you have it. 5 on your side at 5.
Nightly News is next. We are back at 6. Have a great evening.